I am WWF's longest reigning light heavyweight champion, Gilbert, and you are now somewhere in the ring.
The following podcast is scheduled for one recording with no time limit. Making their way down to somewhere in the ring, Andrew Sanford and Ryan Sprague.
John, I want to start things off with an apology to you.
Thank you.
You're
because that's how I like to start get things started.
yeah. Well, it's because I came and saw the greatest solo show of all time back in, was that May or April?
I think it was April. Yeah,
April.
We
know Jim, the director, a good friend, and afterward I got to reconvene with everybody at a bar, and I was on one side of a table talking to Jim and Danny the whole night, basically, and did not get a chance to talk to you at all. And then I have twin 3-year-olds and had to get back to Jersey. And as I was leaving, I was like, "Oh, John, great show. I enjoyed it a lot." And then I had to kind of like duck out.
Well, that's okay, man, because we got you on camera saying that you liked it. So that was good for the promo. So that's that's what it's all about. So
I had a blast. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Really, thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. It's like the first time that I've actually like done an actual hour solo show thing, and
cool.
I know that begging people to come see me yak for about an hour, a little over an hour, is a tall order. So I appreciate literally anybody that comes in. I think we got a couple of people from Europe that were just on the street and decided to walk down into the theater and see something that they had no idea what I was talking about, but they had a great time. And it was really fun. So
it was so awesome. That's what I love. And it's not is it under St. Mark's? What was the name of the theater?
St. Mark's, yeah.
It was under St. Mark's. I love that theater because it literally, and they even said when they came in, they were like, "Yeah, we just saw that there was a show and we're visiting New York, and we just walked down the stairs and we came and we had a great time." And that's why you do shows in New York.
That's why you do it.
It's peak New York. I'll mention really briefly, Andrew. And John, this will be news to you too, because we don't know each other. I used to be an actor. I'm a playwright, kind of currently, but I did a musical based on a very famous singing competition show in America. And it was possibly the worst musical ever written in the history of musicals. And we premiered at the 45th Street Theater in New York City in Hell's Kitchen. And it reminds me so much of, while your show is very good, ours, we literally like manipulated, or I should say our producer manipulated or tricked homeless people into coming into the theater during rainstorms to come watch our show. So,
dear God Almighty.
Yeah, that happened.
That's a pretty, if you're homeless, that's a pretty sick deal though.
Right?
You know what I mean? That's pretty good.
Free entertainment. I'm pretty sure he gave him some M&Ms or something.
That's pretty good. Yeah. That's pretty good for some, show's a show. I mean, it's that or watching people on the street, so
exactly, man. 46 previews. We opened and we closed after opening night. So that says all you need to know.
Yeah.
Right,
let's go.
But enough about me. Andrew, introduce our guest.
Oh, sure. Yeah. This is Somewhere in the Ring, podcast where we talk about wrestling, mostly WWE stuff, but we do talk about AEW. We had a Bad Blood recap that just came out that you can listen to. And then last week we talked about Santos and Blue Demon versus the Monsters, which was a horror movie from 1969. So we kind of mix things up around here. It's a lot of fun. And I'm Andrew, and I'm here as usual with my co-host Ryan. And today we have comedian, performer, writer John Trowbridge with us. Hi, John.
Hi, guys. So excited to be on the pod.
Thanks, man. We're excited to have you.
Yeah, man.
I want to say, because you are here talking about the greatest solo show of all time, which is not just a name. That is, I think
that is what it really is. I actually pull it off. I actually pull off the greatest solo show of all time. And everybody who I've done the show. We've been doing it since December. I think we've done it like 7 or 8 times at this point. every single time I do the show, people come up to me after the show, tears in their eyes. Andrew, you did this. You said these exact words to me. You fell on your knees, tears in your eyes, and you said, John, I can't believe you did it. You did the greatest solo show of all time. I've seen so many shows. This is number one. I can confidently say that. And I appreciate you saying that. And it's actually become very, it's not a big deal for me to hear that anymore, really, because, you know, we like I said, we've done it 7 or 8 times. And yeah, if you do, you know, I'm a big wrestling fan. I'm big in the wrestling world. So yeah, so if you are a fan of this podcast and our conversation, I swear to God Almighty that you will love the greatest solo show of all time.
And first of all, I want to thank you for quoting me so accurately, even though I was sobbing. Religious experience. I'm surprised. It was a revival for me. I'm surprised you could understand me.
Right.
So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. I think you were in the hospital for like a week after that, just recovering from the shock. Ontological shock, baby.
Holy ghosting up and down. But
right.
I also want to say, to slightly undercut something you said, it is not just you yakking for an hour.
Right.
You do some really physically fun and impressive stuff in the show. And my question for you, because physical comedy is so hard to pull off. And I know that you have experience as a comedian, you have experience at UCB, all this wonderful stuff. How often do you feel yourself getting physical? Is that something you usually do, or is that something that you kind of, you know, dusted off for this show?
I'd say that I'm a fairly physical guy. I love visual comedy and I love visual storytelling, and I think it's the most powerful. It's the easiest and, to me, most effective thing. And I also I think I have, with this show and a lot of the other stuff that I do, I feel that you know, the show, Greatest Soul Show, I'm telling a lot of dangerous stories in the show. And so, and I am doing a fair amount of stage combat in the show. And I love to generally hedge my bets in terms of I've personally seen so many one-person shows that is literally just a person on stage with a microphone kind of sauntering around the stage, going on and on about their parents' divorce or some shit like that. And to me, I'm very much I don't know. I get very bent out of shape about those type of shows, because I do fundamentally believe that people work. You know, nobody has any money these days, and people work hard jobs to get $20 and then to go see a comedy show. And so I try to so that's a long way for me to say that I really try to give as much as I can take in an hour. And I think of it if I'm watching the show, when exactly am I going to get bored? And it can't just be me talking. So and the easiest thing for me to jump to is well, you know what should happen? Someone should come in and try to kick my ass, and I should try to defend myself during the show. And you know, I like to use I love breaking things on stage. I love to make it like a big thing. And so I like to, and partially part of that is you know, if you're going to spend $15-20, I want you at least to see something. If you don't find me funny, if you don't like my vibe, you might like watching me get beat up, or you might like watching stuff break on stage, or you might just want to hear a dangerous story. So I've never I don't know, maybe that's just I'm hiding, or I don't believe in myself enough to just do characters or do stand up for an hour. But I love, to me that's the funniest stuff, and actually more interesting. I've been doing this for 15 years, 20 years. And I've just seen so much stand up. I've seen it. And to me, I'm more activated by like sometimes I'll go to this indie wrestling show in Brooklyn called Queer Punk All Stars or Queer Punk, something like that. Cool. And it's so good. It's so like it's like just like an indie wrestling show, and the like wrestling comedy is also very funny to me. You know, the bits are so funny to me, and like I'm just sort of an old school mentality where I'm like, if I'm paying money, this whatever I'm watching needs to end in a like da dun 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 explosion, thing, you know, and that's why I more gravitate towards those shows.
Did I see? Was that the same place? I feel like I saw, because we're Instagram mutuals. No big deal. It's whatever. Yeah. That you were at a show where it was like a kaiju wrestling show.
Oh yeah, Kaiju Big Battle. Yeah, Kaiju Big Battle was great. That was very fun. Yeah, and that's just like, and it's like, yeah, you want to see a giant hamburger man get choke slammed through a building. You know, that's so much better than going to see most of stand-up, which is, you know, my dick looks weird. Great, got it. I've seen my dick looks weird every single time for the past 20 years, you know, by some guy who's probably doesn't look that weird. You know, he's just kind of saying that into a microphone because he knows that's what's going to get a laugh. But like, I don't know. So I'll do that, or I'll do Queer Punk, or I'm trying to get out to more indie shows. I went to a like this hardcore indie show at Baby's All Right a couple months ago, and that was like barbed wire, the tube, the long light bulb tubes,
the like fluorescent lights.
Yeah. Shit's hilarious. Shit's so funny. Yeah. And you get everything. There's typically like, you know, hot sex ladies dancing in between the fights, and you know, it's awesome. It's a great time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So. We and I will say, because we want to dance around to create a sense of allure, I will say, about what your show is. We don't want to give it all away here.
Yes.
But again, we will say, if you like this show, you will like the greatest solo show of all time. You'll also like it because it's the greatest solo show of all time. And also, you do get personal in it. Like not significantly, but what I like is we do kind of, you get personal in a way where the stories that you tell inform how personal you get, and how personal you get also kind of inform the stories that you tell and how you are relating to them. You know what I mean? So what's fun is we still get to know you throughout that hour. It's just a very madcap hour where a lot of fun stuff happens.
Yeah.
So John, is it you know, I always wonder when I go to see these one-man shows, and like you said, it's either about a divorce or it's about, you know, daddy issues, mommy issues, or growing up poor, you know, not to take away from any of that sounded horrible.
No.
Screw them. Let me say that right now.
Holy
and I've always said
down off my
I've always said that. Yeah.
You have. I've seen your shirts.
I've always said that. It's their fault.
Stickers.
It's their fault. They need to deal with it. I don't know why I'm paying $20 to hear about it. You know. 100%.
Good Lord, I wonder who's the heel in this episode. Okay, so I don't know how I'm going to come back from this, but I guess my question is, how personal do you get? I mean, is this all based on your real life, or there's like, I've been to these shows and I'm literally sitting there like, that never happened. That never happened to you. 100%. Never. Like, how real is this? I guess would be my question.
Every second of it is real. Everything that I say is real. I say that, like, I do get fairly personal about my family life for like a little bit, but I guess I have a different I guess I just have a different attitude towards vulnerability in comedy and in the things that I do than other people. I think, to me, I am just anything that I am vulnerable about, or anything that I choose to reveal, is always a setup for a joke later on. And I at no point want to ever hold the audience in a space where they must feel sorry for me, or they should brace themselves to watch me cry. And I don't, and that's, and honestly, and I do actually mean like people that do that. I don't know how you do it. I just don't know how you do it. I mean, honestly, I think I'm just not a good enough actor to make myself, like, people go to Fringe and they'll do a show where they make themselves cry like twice a day for like a month. And I'm like, I just can't do, I cannot, I don't know that I have the acting ability to do that. I can't get myself to that place that often. And I just don't, yeah, some of the time I've also just personally being in it and knowing a lot of people that have like done these shows, I know personally that some of the shows aren't true. I know that they made it up. So I'm sitting here like watching it and sort of in the same place where I'm like, okay, all right. So there's, and I hate to like, you hate to like rank trauma, and you hate to be like, well, I'm not paying unless it was something horrible that happened to you. Like, if they're entertaining, they're entertaining. I get that.
Right.
But for me personally, and what I want to do with my time, I do for this show, like the experiences that I've had, that I talk about are all real. And I don't, it's not a thing where it's not a thing that I want you to feel my humanity in a sad or, in like a sad or victim way. I'm much more interested in like communicating to the audience that like we are equal. And what if you or me experiencing this shit? And it's more me being like, can you believe this shit? Than like, this is the shit that happened to me. It's more like that. And so I want the audience to go on the ride, and I'm their avatar of a virtually normal guy doing all this shit. To me that's just more fun. Like, it's not this. I think like some comedians, like I feel like a lot of comedians now, they'll do like a special, and like very, very famous comedians will start out broke and then they will become rich. Like Chris Rock will be like, most of his like specials now are like, so I was hanging out with the president and Elon Musk and da 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 da. And can you believe we're like deciding like which country to bomb and shit? And he's talking from a place of privilege, but since you already identify yourself with him as the everyman, it sort of is like you are hanging out with Biden and all these different people deciding like what to do with large amounts of money.
Sure.
And I think that's the sweet spot where you can the audience like is like, no, but you are me, I am you, we are equal. But you get to live in a mansion and talk to only rich people, and you just get to tell us what it's like hanging out with rich people all the time. I would love to get to that point, and that's where I'm trying to go with this show. I think
Rock is a perfect example for that too. I think one of my, I forget, is it I think in his second special, he's got that joke about how no white person would want to switch places with a black person. He's like, there's a one-legged busboy here who wouldn't switch places with me, and I'm rich.
Yes. No, yeah, I loved like him being like, the neighborhood that I live in New Jersey, it's like me, one of the greatest comedians of all time, Jay-Z, the greatest rapper of all time, and a white dentist. And it's just a normal fucking white dentist guy, and they live in the most exclusive area of New Jersey.
Sounds about right.
Different standards. Oh boy, you have already dug into it a little bit. You're going to indie wrestling shows. Clearly you're a wrestling fan. When did that start? How did it start for you? Do you have like a pinpoint, or is it more of like it's always been there?
I'm trying to think. It was definitely in my later single digits. I'd hate to be another guest that just says, "Hey, man, the Attitude Era caught me, and now I'm here." But that's
Every guest.
that's
Yeah.
just going to be every guest of a certain
Yeah.
age, I guess. But I think for some reason the ones that hit me as a kid were Vader. I was deeply scared of Vader
That's
and
perfect.
Gold Dust, which I imagine other people have said as well. Gold Dust, I always thought was the one that was legitimately scarier than any other wrestler
Sure.
because it made you question whether or not you are gay. and so at the time you have to sort through those feelings and and then in my adulthood, like, I guess I didn't understand what was happening with Goldust at the time, but like people wanted to kill him coming out of arenas and stuff. And I go back to like the match between him and Roddy Piper, and Roddy Piper's entrance to beat Goldust, and it was like at the time it was that entire arena of people being like, because it was such a dignified entrance, and it really felt like in the moment of people being like, Roddy, go and beat that gay guy up. Like it felt very like horrible in that way. But it was treated like he's such a hero. He's gonna do it for straight guys. Let's go. But yeah, those guys caught me. Very, very scared. One of my earliest memories was like the Vader Shawn Michaels feud. And then the Divas unlocking my sexuality. It's hard to. My father, when I was a kid, got me a Sable VHS of just like I think I was like 11 or 12 at the time, something like that. And my dad got me like, I guess there was like a Sunny VHS and a Sable one, and just like all the Divas like got one. And it was truly just like Sable doing like loose interviews while like the audio of a interview while the video was like her swimming in like a see-through shirt in her pool and like taking showers and talking about how it's so hard dealing with Mark Mero because he won't let her be as sexual as she wants to be. It's awesome.
And young John said, "I'm gonna save her. I will be.
I'm gonna get in there. If only I can get in there." Yeah, 100%.
I remember having a sleepover with a cousin when I was younger, and he had a Divas VHS that he was like hiding that went missing that weekend, and it's still like a what the heck happened to that thing, kind of like a weird family mystery of like how could that even have happened? Like clearly a parent probably was like, no, absolutely not, and pulled it away.
There was little to no oversight with my parents with that sort of stuff. My dad actually he loved it. He loved it. And my mom had no idea. She didn't even see the tape. She didn't know the tape existed. It was great.
Ignorance.
My parents would be weird about that stuff, but then if I wanted, I cannot remember the first time I saw The Shining or the first time I saw Halloween, for instance. Like just that they're like, oh, we don't no naked bodies, but if you see one getting choked to
100%.
death, possibly, that's okay. That's all right. It's strange. And on that note, because we'll be talking about a Halloween Havoc match. How's Halloween in your life? Are you a Halloween guy? Are you let me wait until it's Christmas or just ignore all of it kind of person?
Love it. I absolutely love it. I'm a spooky guy. Love doing spooky things. I always try to get all of my friends have turned into losers and they can't do anything spooky anymore. And I always still want to do like hay rides and haunted houses, and I love horror movie. I'm a big horror movie guy. I love all that stuff. I think it's when I was a kid, me and my friends would like, they would pick me up and I'd be like, "Where are we going?" And they'd be like, "We're going to the abandoned insane asylum two towns over," and we would like sneak into insane asylums, and that was the best. That was the greatest. No, I love that stuff. And I especially love spooky wrestling stuff. I love buried alive matches. Those are Even even though it's always going to be the Undertaker or Kane
Always.
getting buried alive, they will always lose that match. It's whatever. It's whatever.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it to death.
Oh, that's awesome. If I may make a quick recommendation, because I know you're local, the Great Pumpkin Blaze in Peekskill. It's not as spooky, but it's a big. My wife and I have been a few times. We're actually bringing our kids for the first time next week. But it's like they have all these jack-o'-lanterns, and they have like, oh, here's a bunch of jack-o'-lanterns that make the Statue of Liberty, or here's like a jack-o'-lantern bridge that you can walk across. It's
Nice.
awesome.
That's
and
right.
It's like perfect this time of year.
That's very fun.
So I'm so glad that you mentioned Vader, because we're going to talk about a Vader match,
100%.
a Texas death match. Cactus Jack and Vader, and this is pre-ear loss, I think, for Cactus Jack.
Believe so, yeah.
Yeah, this is pre having a German nurse. Oh, sorry, 1993. German nurse drop his. So that might actually be soon. And before we get into this, Ryan, could you pull up the quote unquote rules for this?
Of
Texas
course,
match?
Andrew.
I
I
love
got
the
you,
rules.
buddy.
I
This is
just want to.
yeah. Go through these, please.
Let's see. So let's start. It's a Texas death match, and I'm sorry. It's a what did they keep saying? It's a winner take all, or no? What was the weird? It was like
Spin the wheel, make a deal.
Spin the wheel, make a deal.
Yeah,
there it is. Thank you. Spin the
Yeah.
wheel, make a deal. Texas death match, which kind of undercuts the death match.
That's right.
yeah.
Number one, we've got no disqualification. Cool, makes sense. Number two, falls don't count. Okay, all right, no pins in this match. Wait a second. Number three, a 30-second rest between falls.
That's right. So the falls are there.
They're there.
Right. They're there.
And to make that even clearer, number four, they can happen anywhere. Falls can happen any place on the building. And number five, yep, the match. It was a very whose line is it anyway? Approach the falls.
Yes.
And then number five, match continues until one man can't get to his feet before the 10 count. So we got some last man standing action in there. So it. Yeah,
I'm sorry. Any match that has to like do a graphic like this, you're already in for a world of confusion. I mean, you could tell. I know we'll get to the match, but I mean, my God, I couldn't make heads or tails of this thing. I'm like, wait, is it over? Like, wait, what's happening? We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
It seemed convoluted in a way that was not inaccessible. There's something towards the end that I think is inaccessible to the live audience, which we'll get into. But I love that they put these up there. Shivani and Jesse Ventura talk about it. Shivani wearing a Jesse Ventura costume, which I very much enjoyed. And it was great. And then the announcer says the rules again. Like,
oh my God, yeah.
Like, just to be clear, just so everyone knows, if they get pinned, it doesn't matter, but also it kind of matters.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we should talk about the entrances first. Pretty cool, in my opinion. Coming through a graveyard.
Yeah.
I thought all that stuff was. I think the whole aesthetic to Halloween Havoc is a blast, and is something that you can is kind of like. Pro wrestling feels like the last kind of place where you could still do something like this. Like, I know there is still a Halloween Havoc that they'll do for NXT sometimes, but it's a little pared down. Now let's get goofy with it. Pull out some cardboard, write on something, like, you know. So I loved that whole aesthetic. Now, Ryan, I see you're wearing a Halloween Havoc shirt, correct?
Yes.
Is that what you have on? Let's go.
Let's go.
Rock.
Yeah.
Excellent. Do either of you have any Halloween Havoc memories? Because I think it's easy to be like, oh, Survivor Series, I remember this, or Starrcade, I remember this, or WrestleMania, obviously. Like, but do either of you have a specific Halloween Havoc memory?
Yeah, I know it's tough. I mean, I definitely have. I have plenty of like trick or street fight memories. I love that that's a time-honored tradition these days, which is essentially just an excuse to get a pumpkin on a wrestler's head. That's all it is. It's just we're waiting, and it's a couple of years ago it was Otis. Last year it was Chelsea Green. You know, who knows who it'll be this year, but it's just the fans demand a pumpkin on someone's head, and it must happen.
That's actually how you keep Cthulhu at bay. Like that is once a year, a pumpkin has to go on a wrestler's head,
right?
And then Cthulhu's like, "All right,"
yeah,
he's like, "All right,"
and they have to run into the post, and then they have to fall down on their bottom because there's a pumpkin on their head. But with this Halloween Havoc match, I actually watched this today. I love that I always, whenever things are like when the rules are so convoluted on matches like this, I always try to think about like, okay, but what is the thing that they're trying to do? Like, what is the thing that is like whatever, add whatever rules you want. But as long as we get the pumpkin on the head, that's what we need. That's what we need to communicate. But with this, it seemed like it was all leading up to the taser at the end. Something like that. Or the grave. Like there was like a grave that they both fell into. But then they all fell into the grave and then came out of the grave. It was like a thing in the middle of the match. It's like, oh, they fell in the grave. Oh, here comes Cactus Jack, and Vader comes out of the grave. All right, so now we're back at it, folks.
And they're both automatically bloodied after. We don't even get to see what busted them open. I'm like,
you could just see them down in that grave. Like, wait, hold on, hand me the blade so I can. Here, can you get Harley? Get me, please.
Can they see it?
Like, it's
get the fog machine going. They can see the blading.
Yeah, exactly, John. Yeah. The last thing with them going down into the grave, this is anywhere. You can go anywhere, and and the ref is literally like, "No, I'm not going down there. Whatever happens down there doesn't count in this match."
Too scary.
He's like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Also, I'm sure the smell was terrible. Like, there's no way that he could go down there and it's comfortable for anybody. These men are working very hard. Also, speaking of that, at one point, Tony Schiavone had one of my. He's like, "Well, you say what you will about Vader, but he's a hell of a man." And I was like, "What does that mean exactly?"
Hell of a man.
I love that Vader was getting his ass stomped right out the gate. Like all this, like I love like I think it's maybe a little bit better now, but I feel like back in the day, the wrestlers instantly, like they came out, all this fanfare, pumping, blah, 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 blah. And then ding, 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 they get poked. Oh, and then it's time to slow down. And like they immediately are like breathing hard and they immediately go into like selling every single thing. That like, I like to think that like they've been waiting for this match all week and they just weren't expecting the eye poke in the beginning.
Nope.
Damn it! They really came out with like a plan of attack, but they just got kicked in the groin right up top, and now they're just like slow selling every single move. And Vader comes out like big. He's like pumping his fist. He's got his guy with him, and then he immediately gets hit, and he immediately gets irritated with his mask and rips off his mask, and it's like, all right, enough of this shit. But it was literally like a minute into the match, he got tired of his own mask.
Yes,
I love it. It's so good. And then they're slow selling the whole thing. Cactus Jack is pretty much whipping his ass the entire time. For Vader, who's a humongous man, when they come out, they go, "This is the world champion. This is the guy." Yeah. And he's just getting his ass stomped by Cactus Jack, who we all know is a very hardcore wrestler. But like Cactus Jack, I don't assume. I know he's like an ass kicker. But I associate Cactus Jack with getting his ass stomped more than I think beating people's ass. Like I think like, oh, Cactus Jack got put through another flaming table again. I don't think of it like, oh, he's dangerous. I'm like, he's the one taking abuse,
Right.
Or like at most, he's like, I'm gonna bring you down with me. Like whatever's about to happen is about to happen to both of us.
Totally.
Go to commercial break. Commercial break. Commercial break. Go to commercial. Commercial.
So, if you're here, it's probably because you've been listening to Somewhere in the Ring, and we thank you oh so much for that. But you want more. You want more Ryan. You want more Andrew. You want more mini episodes. You want some commentaries. You want to get your name on a box. Well, that's what's going to happen here.
You're going to get shout-outs on the show. You can get your name on Andrew's official microphone podium. You can choose our topics and matches that we discuss, and you also get priority to ask our guests your listener questions. So you'll see the tiers right here on Patreon. Check them out. See which one you want to join. You can always go up. You can always go down.
And we're going to keep adding and changing as the show goes on. I love playing wrestling video games. You want to play a wrestling video game with me? We're going to add that into the tiers at some point. You want to hear Ryan and I talking while you watch the Scott Conn, David Arquette, Oliver Platt vehicle Ready to Rumble, which I'm going to keep bringing up because it's going to happen at some point. You can do that here. We're going to make this Patreon full and fun, and we're going to keep building this community that we've already started that we love so much.
We hope that you will join us even more somewhere in the ring.
The clothesline over the rope. That's like something that I think he kind of at least popularized, but this idea of like, and I remember him saying in his book, he's like, everybody was clotheslining people over the rope. He's like, I'm just going to go with them when we do it. And it's just, and then meanwhile, spoiler alert, after doing that time and time again, I believe he's had both hips replaced. He's just
one
slamming hip first into the ring every time.
Those hips don't lie, man. I mean, they're gone.
There it is.
Truly.
Yeah.
Well done.
I don't know where that came from.
The one your soul, baby.
It's somewhere in here.
She's always around.
Yeah, I left it somewhere. The chair shots. My God, I forgot this was the time where these were still a thing before they were banned. And oh man, I really feel like Vader possibly was concussed for a moment during this match because he was just wandering around. He did not look like he had any idea where he was, or he's a fantastic seller. And I don't know Vader's work, to be honest. This was literally the first match I have ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, we got to have you watching some more Vader and Cactus Jack matches too.
I know, man.
They
first match ever. Besides Boy Meets World.
I was just about to say, you should start with Boy Meets World because that's where a lot of his brutal shit was going on. That was really hard. Yeah,
I figured.
Yeah. Like comedy.
That was the best. I loved it. I loved it when like, oh my God, the Undertaker's here, and everyone's like, it's like Family Matters. It's like, who's gonna die?
Yeah.
And it's always that fun thing. And the similar thing happens in wrestling video games or wrestling movies where it's this idea. And when they show up on TV shows, this idea that wrestling is real but not real, like it's this weird kind of like, and it's something like Boy Meets World. I think they're more just like, oh no, this is real and it's really happening. But then there's some, I bring this up constantly on the show because I'm gonna force Ryan to watch it at one point. But in Ready to Rumble, the Scott Conn, David Arquette, Oliver Platt vehicle, wrestling is treated like all the stuff going on in the ring and all the stuff going on backstage and all the decisions made are all real and they're all part of what's going on. And I think for whatever reason, whenever there's a narrative brought in, that has to happen in certain writers' minds. And it's just silly.
You never miss an opportunity, Andrew.
I will bring up Ready to Rumble as much as possible. Jimmy King, he's the best wrestler. He's the best wrestler. Better than all the wrestlers.
Yep. It's important to commit that stuff to memory, and it's important to shove out important information and leave that in your brain.
Yeah, John, I don't know how to do my taxes.
And you shouldn't. And you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to. No, that's why you pay somebody else to do that stuff. So you can remember the song from Ready to Rumble. Yeah.
There were two lines I have to mention, John and Andrew. You're both writers. I'm sure you'll appreciate these that Jesse Ventura had during commentary that I noted here, if you don't mind. The first,
I do, but go ahead.
Okay, I figured. I'm sorry, buddy. After Vader and Cactus Jack came out of the grave, Ventura said, "This is the night of the living dead," and he thought that was the most brilliant thing that has ever been spoken upon a wrestling ring. And the second was after the chair shots and they were both bloodied. They're both ugly to begin with, so they can't get any uglier. I love that, man.
It's good.
I love him.
That's good. Jesse the Body.
Yep.
And that's why I voted for him. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why you got my vote.
Yeah. For me, John, it was the conspiracy theories.
Right. It was the truth telling for me.
Yes,
I think. Yeah. But I always think it's a good idea to vote for wrestlers to be to run political office. I always thought it was a good idea to vote for Kane. I think it was good. I think it was good to make Kane a mayor.
Why?
I think that was really good. A guy who's really only good at playing the Undertaker's brother. I think we should put him in charge of a city.
I was about to say there. I have two requirements for a mayor, and you have to at least hit one of them. You have to either be a pro wrestler or you have to look like a human thumb. And if you can hit one of those things, and Glenn Jacobs is like, "Oh, buddy, have I got news for you? I'm going to do them both."
Whenever I go into the booth, I go, "Which one of these people have tombstoned Linda McMahon on the stage?" And Glenn was there, and so he gets my vote. You know, if you can tombstone a 60-year-old woman onto metal, yeah, of course, that's who I trust.
Oh man, it's that or the immigration policy. But,
but honestly, who has time to get into all that? Really, you know?
I know
the tombstones, like it feels good, so that's all I really think about.
You know.
Oh, by the way, guys, Cactus Jack hit Vader with an actual cactus.
Yes,
I love that moment.
A quote unquote actual.
I especially love that because I don't even know if that was cardboard. I feel like it was like a big play because when he hit it, it made a sound that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
And that was a funny, like, speaking of, because they're gassed immediately. They're kind of like, oh man, I can't. And I also love they're kind of doing the like hug punch on the ground when they're like they're so mad that they can't even like have a fake fight. They got to really get down but that feels like why the pinfall thing was in there, to give them like 30 seconds to take a breather. But at the end of the day, this match is like barely 15 minutes long.
It's really not that long. Yeah.
Half of it was the entrance, and I feel like the other half was them resting and wandering around aimlessly concussed. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which seems odd for a pay-per-view. But
can I ask you
for
guys
a pay-per-view would be the Halloween Havoc from like 2 years prior when Abdullah the Butcher got electrocuted. I was almost going to do that one, and then I was like, I don't know if I want to talk about that. Sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
Well, being as I've never seen a Vader match before, was he known to do high spots? Because that scared the Night of the Living Dead out of me. You're welcome, Jesse Ventura. That was wow. I was very impressed with that.
Yeah, the Vader salt. He does that all the time. Yep. His finisher is the Vader bomb, where he sort of pumps on the ropes and then flattens out and flattens you.
Oh, so is that where Nia Jax gets it from? I would assume. Gotcha.
A lot of those bombs are from Vader. Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like back in the day too, that was not like required, but it's the same way how in like, back in the day, if people could act, they could probably sing and dance too. I feel like wrestlers kind of had to be a little bit mobile sometimes if they were bigger. Not always. You have your like King Kong Bundys or your like Andre the Giant's not going up on the ropes or things of that nature, but you've got Vader could move, Bam Bam Bigelow could do the same. Like I feel like it was more normal, at least for big guys, to kind of do that because it's exciting and crazy.
Right.
And now they're just like, no. If one of these guys merely falls on their back, that ring is going out.
Right. But it is crazy how often you see it. Yeah, because like Bronson Reed has a big splash.
Yes.
Ivar has like a moonsault.
Otis does the worm.
Yep. Can't get Omos to do much other than can't seem to get him to do any high flying stuff. But yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy how much you need that in your arsenal.
Yeah.
Omos is probably just waiting for the zip line. He's like, when I can do that, when I can come in, that's when you get me in the air. Yep.
That's right.
We can all dream. All dream.
So something that I miss that happens in this match is I miss the days of older wrestlers coming out wearing a jacket that looks like it was cut from a couch to cheer on some kind of younger wrestler. Like I love that kind of like passing the torch of just like, it's not even like this guy's dressed up in a certain way, or this is a certain like manager, or there's a theme going on. It's just like Harley Race is like, I like this guy. I'll walk out to the ring with you and tase somebody. Like he was like, I was back in Craft. I was a little bored, so I'm just gonna walk out there with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Back in the old days when like Bruce Pritchard would walk out with Undertaker. Just like,
right.
Does he care about a dead corpse guy walking to the ring? This guy was just like a normal guy in a suit.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Why does he care? And why is he taking advice from some random guy in the back? Yeah. He's a corpse man. You're gonna give him a corpse man wrestling advice? Oh, okay. I'm gonna listen to you. I'm gonna listen to you, normal business suit man. Oh, punch him and kick him. Okay, great.
Done.
Hit the tombstone. Okay, I guess I wasn't doing that. So funny. It's so crazy.
We lost Andrew.
Even with Cornette or like Jimmy Hart, I would understand how Jimmy Hart helps, other than just like distracting people or like whatever. Like Jimmy Hart has never. I guess like Bobby the Brain Heenan would be like, okay, well he's smart, so maybe he's got something. Right. But like Jimmy Hart is just a screaming animal into like cocaine addict.
Yeah,
you know, so funny. Well, I need him. Are you kidding me? How the hell am I supposed to win matches without this guy screaming into a bullhorn? Jesus Christ!
I will push back, Andrew.
No, go ahead. I know what you're about to pick up. Yes, please.
All right, let me get my debate hat on. I mean, Harley Race actually did have a lot to do with this match, whether we like it or not.
It's true.
Yeah. Do you want to run us through that?
Well, yeah. So he had that old taser, the nice, one of those old school, like you hear it when it's being used kind of tasers. Maybe that's how tasers always work. I'm not sure. And when both wrestlers are almost going down for the 10 count, Harley goes in, gives Cactus the old jolt, and that keeps him down to lose the match. But two things about that particular finish. One, Harley obviously had to make it clear that he had a taser, and you can't do that without using it. The snag is that it makes a very loud noise when it is being used.
The whole arena could hear it.
Right.
So when he's actually jabbing Cactus Jack, it is silent. It is 100% silent.
No, you got to turn it off. Well, once you get it going a couple times, you don't actually need to touch the electricity to the body. No, you don't have to do that.
Not at all.
And you know, Mick sold it good enough by just going and then falling down. Come on, and then falling down on the ground for 10 seconds. Yeah.
And then the other problem is that it's very much like a TV friendly finish and not an audience friendly finish, and you can hear that from the crowd. When the match is over, they were just kind of like, at first there's a little confusion, and then they're just kind of like, oh, like there's no, like they couldn't even tell what was going on.
No. Well, and that was my problem with this whole match and the stipulations. I feel like if they had cut to the audience more during this match, you would have just seen like fathers trying to explain to their children what's going on. No, that doesn't count. No, don't worry. Wait, no. Now I'm not sure. Wait, let's go ask somebody else. What's happening?
What's
like that? And the match was just so unevenly paced. And I know I'm like getting in the weeds here. I mean, these guys gave it their all, but my God, this was a confusing, convoluted match.
Yeah, under no circumstances should there be periods of rest in a wrestling match. In a blood feud death match, there should be no rest for people who want to participate in a death match. And it's so funny. It's like, you have to keep them down for 10 seconds. You actually have to keep them down for 40 seconds because you have to keep them down for the 30-second rest period. And then coming out of the rest period, you have to get them for an extra 10 seconds.
So my question is to you guys, how did Vader win this match? It either went over my head, or why did he win? I just saw Mick on the ground, shocked, and then, Cactus Jack, and then all of a sudden, Vader's arms
use his government name.
I know, I'm sorry. Yeah. Why did he win? Why did he win? Was it a 10 count? I missed that. I completely missed the ending of this match.
Yeah, I thought that the 10 count, I thought that you had to pin them. There was the rest period, and then the 10 count started. But because
Sure.
otherwise, if it is just if you're on the ground for 10 seconds, they were lying on the ground for 10 seconds the entire goddamn match.
Yes.
Vader was lying on the ground for most of the match.
Yep.
So if it's just that, then unfortunately the integrity of the match was broken. I have to say, if you can believe it. But I think it was just they were both. Maybe there was a pin. I forget, but maybe there was a pinfall. So they started the 10 while they were both down, and then Vader got up first at the end, and they said, "We gotta end this thing. These people are walking out."
Yeah.
Here's a question for you two, and I'm going to put on a hat to ask this question. What was Texas about this match?
The cactus.
What was Texas about this Texas death match?
Cactus.
The cactuses,
Right?
The electrocution, I imagine. The
wanton disregard for human life.
That was my first official spit take on the podcast. I'm not kidding. Genuine.
Yeah, I don't know. There's absolutely, I have no idea. But there's a bunch of things like that. Like I don't know why a Samoan slam is Samoan other than a Samoan did it first, or any of those things.
Where was this? Do we know where this took place? Maybe that's why. I know in Philly street fight, they had it in Philadelphia.
Right.
I wonder if it was to sort of cater to the.
That's a good question. Let me see. Let me get out my mother box and see.
Get that Google box.
Halloween Havoc. Oh, I'm a Wikipedia guy. No big deal. It's whatever. I still get asked to donate more money.
You better be donating that 50 cents.
Got money. I think I've done like $2.50 pretty consistently every time. New Orleans was where this took place.
Yep.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta name it something. If you don't want to go to New Orleans death match, you gotta be like, I don't know, like what's the main
a Mardi Gras brawl?
A Mardi Gras massacre. That's all it is.
Look at that. Good punch up.
That's all it is. It's so easy. Mardi Gras massacre match. Yeah, that's all.
Trademarking that right after.
You can do it's one of the easiest things you can do. But for the electricity shot, I think they unfortunately needed to pipe that sound into the arena.
Yeah.
I remember a while ago there was one Goldberg match on TV where Scott Hall climbed on and tasered Goldberg, and I think they piped in fake zapping noises. My favorite piped in noise I think that they've ever done is a couple of years ago when the Judgment Day was Edge and Damian Priest and I think just the two of them actually. I guess they were still unclear about whether or not they had superpowers or not, or if they were just because there was, I think in the beginning, Edge was like, "Oh, is this like a new brood? Like, did they have vampire powers or something like that?"
Right. Yeah.
And so I guess that it was unclear, and so they had one where Damian was swearing fealty to Edge, and Damian had he was in the middle of a match, and he was I guess just done with the match. So he got down on one knee, almost like Undertaker style, like Shakespeare style, and he got down on one knee, and he looked up at the hard camera, and the arena filled with purple light, because that's the Judgment Day's color, and he looked into the hard camera, and then you heard a sucking noise. So it was and then they blacked out the arena, and then 15 seconds later, they turned the lights back on, and Priest was gone. To send the illusion that Edge has sucking powers and can suck wrestlers out of the ring. And then it was so jarring. It was so jarring and weird. They didn't do it again and never talked about it ever again. So if he ever comes back, if he ever comes in the lore, Edge can suck wrestlers out of the ring at any point that he wants to. That's how cool he is.
That is a finisher, if I've ever.
That is a
heard
mask
one.
finisher. Yeah,
Wow.
that's one of the best things I've ever seen in my life. One of the dumbest fucking things that's ever happened. So good.
I have
Just
to
him
go
with a
watch
big
that.
straw, just a like.
Just edge in the back going, come to me, Damian Priest, for some reason. I need you now. You know.
Turns into a first-person cam like in Lost Boys, like he's just flying around like, whoa,
Yeah.
gotta get through Gorilla and like just
Yeah.
into the.
I do love how, they would tease supernatural elements to some of these guys, and then immediately, like, it's gone. Like the next week, it's
abandoned
gone.
storylines are the best. They are
Yeah.
just the
Yeah.
absolute best. Like no more,
yeah.
none probably more infamous than Vince McMahon's car explosion.
Right.
But they're just like those kind of things where it's just. That's why I think there's just always a limit that pro wrestling can go to, because then if you have to drop something, well, actually, they don't have to explain it. Who cares? One thing I do kind of appreciate is when they move on from something, it is a hard move on. They are just like, don't even bring it up. Don't ask questions.
Yeah.
You can maybe look at it on our YouTube channel.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do love it. I love it when like they get to the point where like, Alexa Bliss can shoot a fireball out of her hand.
Yeah.
And then a year later, she just loses a normal match to Natty. She just taps out of a sharpshooter, loses.
Yeah.
And she never thinks to conjure the fireball ever again, Can't do it. Can't like be an easy fix. Be an easy fix.
You get one.
You get one.
Yeah,
you get
that's
one.
it. Orton Jared locked out at one point. He had like black blood start coming out of his mouth, and then 2 years later, he's making weed jokes with Jelly Roll in the front row. Like he's not. He's
totally
just
fine.
like, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Totally fine. Or like Kane's face. Like I'm supposed to believe that Kane's face is like horribly mangled, and then he's just a normal. Yeah, he just takes the mask off and he's fine. And he has like a little dirt. That's what it was the entire time.
That's it.
That's what this whole horrible story was about. He was in a fire and he just got a little soot on his face. That's it.
I've always wanted to look into this because I remember when that moment happened live. That was during, I think, the TNA era. And he takes the mask off and he's got like soot. Like he looks like he just got shot out of a chimney. And
Mary Poppins, baby.
Yeah, but he's also got like this weird patch of hair on the top of his head, and I don't know if he was just rocking the strangest haircut possible, because it was like grown and curly, like you could see. It's like, oh, there's that Isaac Yankem hair, like clearly a little bit there, but like it had been underneath, I guess, a decent enough wig. Just the strangest. That is one of the weirdest segments they have ever done.
Yeah.
Just to do a segment that's just like, look, Glenn doesn't want to wear the mask anymore, so we're just gonna have him go out there and he's gonna say this, and then he can be bald, and we don't have to worry about it.
Right.
The last, I feel like, supernatural thing we got and may possibly get is when Chad Gable was shot
at point blank range
by the Wyatt Six, and was fine. He's fine
totally
the next day.
He's groovy, man. Fine. He's groovy. Yeah.
You just work it out. You just walk it off. You go to the gym. It's whatever.
Tiger Bomb can do a lot, guys.
Yeah,
it's true.
100%.
It's true. Yeah.
And I love the current Wyatt Six. I love and I love when I love it in terms of like eventually down the road you would assume that maybe like titles would get in the picture. And I just love it that there's like, for maybe like the Undertaker or any sort of person who's like a demon or the Fiend or these like supernatural person from hell, and their number one goal is to become the Intercontinental Champion. That's what I read
that
love.
in the Old Testament.
Yeah, that's right.
The
devil sent them to Earth to become the United States Champion. That's what I love.
Yeah, I'll have to check. I'll have to reread that.
I was released, and my one mission is to win the Speed Championship.
That's right.
You're gonna wrestle 3 minutes
or less.
That's right. Is to defeat Ricochet in under 3 minutes on X. I can't wait.
Incredible.
Oh man!
If you think I'm going to let the devil down by losing this speed match to Tozawa,
Oh, Tozawa. God
I love
bless
him.
his heart.
I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Tozawa.
John, I think we can wrap it up here. We've
Sure.
had too much fun. Thank you so
Way too
much
much.
for
So
joining
much
us.
fun.
If people want more of you, and they absolutely should, where can
Right.
they look? Thank you, Ryan. Perfect time.
If you just Google John Trowbridge comedy, follow everything that you see there. I'm on everything, so. And and if you're in New York, this Saturday, October 12th, 7 p.m. at the new UCB Theater on 14th. Yeah, come see the greatest solo show of all time. It truly is the greatest solo show of all time. I feel completely comfortable saying that. I understand that that's a very maybe narcissistic thing to say, but I feel absolutely confident in saying it every time I say it. Yeah, and I true. Everything that's in it is true stories of stuff that has happened to me. And again, if you like we said a million times, if you do like this pod and this convo, you will absolutely love the show.
100%.
But thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. This is so fun.
Good, thank you. Yeah, of course. Ryan, what you got going on? What's coming up?
I'm currently in Nova Scotia for the next 3 weeks, hunting ghosts all across the Maritime.
Yes.
I was on a Ouija board for 2 hours last night. I have a feeling that's going to happen again today. I'll let you guys know. I'll let you know if Undertaker or Edge show
Please
up.
do. Yeah. Let me know what Paul Bearer is up to.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was okay. Look.
Wow. Rest
I
in
love
peace.
that. R.I.P.
Yeah.
But that's what I got going on. You could check out Haunted.
But there's a premiere, right? Doesn't the show actually premiere in a couple weeks?
Thank you for mentioning that. October 26th, if you live in Canada, our new season of Haunted will premiere. But if you live outside of Canada, you can watch it right now on YouTube. Just go to Eastlink YouTube channel, and they have the first 5 seasons or something on there right now. They're gradually rolling them out. I show up in lucky season 13, so you can start. So that's what I'm up to, Andrew. I do the UFO podcast, Somewhere in the Skies, every week. Brand new episode just dropped yesterday, and that's it for me. How about you?
October 25th, me and Random Access Theater down in Dumbo through their Drunk Texts series, another adaptation that I wrote, this time of Halloween. It's called All Hallows Eve, or The Tragedy of Michael Myers. The shows are a blast. It's at 9 p.m. October 25th. The Rat NYC, right in the heart of Dumbo. We play drinking games. We do a staged reading of this script. And we've only done this show once before. We've done a few of them several times, but this is one that I wrote for them that we've only done once. And I get to play Dr. Loomis.
Ooh, very nice.
My hair, Michael. Just a lot. It's going to be a lot of that. So if you want to hear that and me get increasingly drunker over 2 hours,
that's great.
It's a good time, especially because I don't really drink anymore. These shows are the one time, every couple of months, that I will have a few drinks. So,
what do I give to see that? Go see
get silly. Yeah, check it out. Check out theratnyc.com. They have a lot of fun stuff coming out too. So John, the way that we usually end this show. Oh, also, by the way, go to patreon.com/somewhere in the ring. Look us up. We should talk about the show. And if you're already here, though, you probably know all that stuff.
Yeah.
And John, to end the show, we like to have people ring the bell to get us out of here. Whatever that means to you, if you could please ring the bell and send us home.
Wow. I will say, I come out here every night with hustle, loyalty, respect on my sleeve. And that's a credo that I've adopted from the men and the women who defend the freedom of this country. We have caught and compromised to a permanent end Osama bin Laden. And this is really something here tonight. But I feel damn proud to be an American.
And I'm proud to be an American. where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the man who died, who gave that right to me. And I'll gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
The fans demand a pumpkin on someone's head, and it must happen.